All right, let's dive right into a massive biological mystery. Today, we're unpacking the real science behind something literally every single one of us does, but kind of rarely understands: the contagious yawn.
So, first off, a quick test for you. Are you yawning right now? Seriously, take a second. Did just reading the title of this explainer trigger the urge to yawn? It's incredibly common. In fact, research shows that just reading about, thinking about, or even just seeing someone else yawn can trigger the exact same response in you. But why? What's actually happening inside our heads? Well, before we bust some of the biggest myths out there, we need to define what a yawn actually is, neurologically speaking. It's not just opening your mouth, it's what scientists call a highly stereotyped action pattern. Think of it as a three-phase reflex. First, you get this powerful jaw gaping and deep inhalation, then a peak muscle contraction where your head tilts back and your eyes close, and finally, a passive jaw closure. But here's the absolutely crucial part. A yawn fundamentally alters your cognition and arousal. It's an involuntary reflex that's actively trying to change your mental state.
Now, for decades, the biggest myth out there was that we yawned to equalize our blood oxygen, or just because we're, bored out of our minds. But a famous 1987 study by Robert Provine completely dismantled that oxygen myth. Turns out, breathing enhanced oxygen or carbon dioxide doesn't change your yawn frequency at all. And sure, you might yawn during a super boring meeting, but it's not the boredom itself causing it. The fact is, yawning promotes a state change. It boosts alertness, and get this, it actually regulates your brain temperature. It is literally your brain's biological strategy for waking itself up. To prove this brain-cooling idea, what scientists call thermal homeostasis, researchers ran this absolutely fascinating experiment. They had people hold different temperature packs to their foreheads while watching videos of other people yawning. When subjects held a warm pack or just a room temperature one, they contagiously yawned about 41% of the time. Pretty normal, right? But the results for the cold pack were wild. Holding a 4 degrees Celsius cold pack to the forehead almost entirely stopped the urge to yawn. The rate plummeted to just 9%. Basically, by artificially cooling the brain's blood supply, the body just didn't need the yawn's natural cooling effect anymore. Okay, so let's look at how a breathing experiment builds on this temperature concept. Since nasal breathing is actually a natural way to cool the brain, specifically by cooling the venous blood going to the cranial cavity, researchers instructed subjects to breathe exclusively through their noses while watching yawns. The result? 0 contagious yawns. Absolutely none. When the brain was already being effectively cooled by breathing through the nose, the contagious yawn reflex was completely blocked. So yeah, a yawn literally acts as a biological radiator for your brain. But wait, if yawning is just a radiator cooling the brain, why on earth is it contagious? Well, let's pivot from the individual to the social side of things. Current neuroscience points to these specialized mirror neurons in our brains that help cement social relationships. It's basically a primitive form of empathy that helps us synchronize our behavior with the group. And this empathic link is so deeply ingrained in our evolutionary history, it actually crosses species boundaries. There was this incredible study where adult chimpanzees were shown an android, like a literal non-biological robot that just mimicked a yawning motion. And guess what? The chimps contagiously yawned right back at the robot. The visual cue alone, even from a mechanical face, was enough to trigger that empathic motor response. Crazy, right? So putting it all together, the crucial takeaway here is that a contagious yawn acts as a biological alarm bell. Think about it. An individual might yawn because their own alertness is dropping, right? But by spreading that behavior to everyone nearby, the whole group synchronizes their collective alertness. To test this group vigilance theory, researchers had human subjects look for images of snakes, which are a classic evolutionary thread, hidden among distractors like frogs. And the participants detected the snakes significantly faster right after seeing other people yawn. The contagious yawn literally primed their brains to spot threats faster, protecting the whole group from danger. That is a real game changer. All right, let's wrap this up and summarize the core science. Yawning is far from just a rude sign that you're bored. It is an absolutely essential neurophysiological adaptation. It cools the mammalian brain, it's driven by our mirror neurons and deep-seated empathy, and ultimately it enhances our collective group vigilance. It's a biological survival tool. In fact, it's so fundamental to how we develop that fetuses in the womb start yawning as early as 20 weeks gestation to help regulate their circadian rhythms. Now, if this explainer successfully triggered a yawn for you, or if you just gained a new appreciation for this awesome everyday mystery, please drop a like on this explainer, subscribe for more, and definitely leave a comment letting me know if you yawned while watching. But I'll leave you with this one thought. If a simple yawn is enough to subconsciously wire our brains to the emotions and alertness of the people around us, what else are we silently catching from the people we spend our time with?